Recording. All right. Good morning, everybody. It
Good
is
morning.
23rd. Good
Morning.
morning, Dr. Joe. It is the 23rd of January, and tomorrow is my wife's birthday, so I've got to be I've got to remember that. I've got to tattoo it somewhere so I don't forget. Okay, so, we've been discussing for some time, we've been discussing the five levels of leadership. And I was thinking I want to just ramp it up a bit and do something a little different today. Because, on these Friday calls, I'm kind of like talking a lot and waffling away. But I wonder just how much of that actually resonates and how much of that is acted upon. So I have some idea here. Of course, before we start, the slaughterhouse of failure is absolutely definitely not in my destiny nor in our destiny. We shall persevere until we succeed. Augmandino, a little modified. So, on this leadership, one of the things that we've talked about a lot also is that position in normally in corporate world, position doesn't create leadership. What creates leadership is trust. And in healthcare and entrepreneurship, you know, titles are common, but trust is something that we have to earn. Patients, teams, partners follow leaders who demonstrate integrity, clarity, and consistency, especially under pressure. So, my question to you, I would like to put it out there, since I'm saying that trust is earned. So I'm asking now, I want to do this as a kind of a question part for you to be participative of this call, this mindset call every Friday. So my question then is, how do you instill trust in the people with whom you're working? How do you instill trust in the people you're working? I'd really like to have some comments, please. Some feedback.
Hey,
Consistent.
Lawrence.
Yes,
Oops,
ma'am.
I'm driving. The first thing that came to mind, yeah, I just heard consistency, and doing what you say you're going to do, which is consistency. So that's just if you're going to call somebody, call them. Answer text messages, answer emails, do send to people what you say you're going to send in a timely manner. Just, I'm very,
Mhm.
very much an advocate for follow up and doing what you say.
There you go.
That, there you go. You get trust. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Good job. Thanks, Lisa.
Show up when you say you will.
Okay.
One thing I think is, people, everything that they're saying does indeed earn their trust. But another thing I think that's a part of it is you need to be the person that's initiating things because they also want to trust you as a leader. And it's the leader is the one that's kind of setting the tone, setting the pace, identifying the vision. And so, in a way, they're learning to trust that as well. If you have bad vision, they're not going to trust that, and your vision doesn't go just one way. It really needs to include the whole team.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, I have a picture of a board outside a gas station in South Africa where the guy writes lots of different sayings. And the one I like is when you make a commitment, you build hope. When you keep it, you build trust.
Oh, good one.
Whoa.
So
That's
That's a
smart.
good one.
just like Ms. Malone said, keep your commitments.
Love it.
Well, how did I miss that one, Jim, in South Africa? You saw that? I didn't run across that one. That's a good one.
So I just want to say you have to be persistent and you have to do everything that you say you're going to do, just like everyone just makes. But persistence is one of the keys because people are like, holy smokes, if I don't tell this person to go away, I got to find out what they're doing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Dee Dee. And thank you, Dr. Tears.
Lead by example, number one.
Exactly.
That,
Okay.
that- yeah, that's what sets the tone. But a lot of this is also giving praise when things are done correctly, and letting people know when they're doing something wrong. And Lawrence is excellent with that. He calls me out sometimes, and I appreciate that. But that's being honest with who you're leading, and it's also being honest with yourself.
Thank you, Michael. Giving praise where it's merited, leading by example, integrity, walk your talk, persistence.
But equal on that is critique, right? You sometimes you have to say some things that, hey, you know what, you shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I would have maybe thought about a different way to do it. And it takes a little courage to do that. But that's in my opinion, that's more important than the praise.
Brutally honest,
Exactly.
diplomatic, but brutally honest.
Yes.
That really causes things to move forward, don't they, Mike?
100%. Yeah, no, nobody wants to keep making the same mistakes especially when they don't realize they're making a mistake. And it can be uncomfortable. Sometimes we're proud of things. We think we did something good, and under deep analysis, wow, maybe that wasn't such a good thing that I did.
And
And in the whole world of relationships, isn't it your trusted friend that you will have those moments of open discussion with each other because you feel comfortable enough? How about your spouse, And
Hopefully, yeah.
so why
Hopefully, you have
not?
that type of relationship.
Yeah, why not also your team members?
Exactly.
Jim, you just said the word trusted. That's what we're talking about. How do you instill trust? And a trusted friend is someone who's going to tell you when you screw up and he's going to tell you when you're doing okay. And that is where honesty comes in, honesty and trust. And to do that, you've got to have integrity on yourself and you've got to walk your talk. You've got to lead by example, as just somebody said as well.
One other thing I'll point out, one thing I learned years and years and years ago, when you're working with a team, never criticize someone in front of their peers, ever.
Bingo.
Ever.
In Asia, one of the big things that I learned there was you've always got to let the people save face. So they've got to have if they screw up, you can tell them quietly on the side, but don't embarrass anybody because embarrassment is something that it could have a very negative result. So you can embarrass someone privately.
Condemn privately, criticize privately and praise publicly. I think it's about caring, right? There's the expression, nobody cares how much you know, people know how much you care. So you build up trust by showing people that you care, by doing all the other steps that we were talking about, by leading by example and, constructive criticism and all the other things. But people know if you care or not. And that builds trust.
100%. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, and it's kind of a two-way street, just like we're building a relationship incrementally. And one of my favorite expressions is a solid rock is unaffected by either praise or censure. So if you do praise somebody, they can take it on an even keel and recognize that, yes, that's true. I can confirm it. But if it goes the other way, then you have to be able to absorb it, assess whether it makes sense or not, and then you both grow.
Okay. I
You
think
know,
God, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we talk about this business being one where you're investing in people. And in this business, you're not in an office situation where you can just walk away, right? You're there. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is this. When you have team members, and let's say you see in your eyes where they might be screwing up in a way, you always have a choice right then. You can say, gee, I'm going to make the hard decision to be honest with this person. So I'll have a private call with them. Or you can say, gee, I'm just going to go recruit new people because I don't want to deal with that. And I'm telling you, I think the latter one is a mistake. I think that you only need 5 or 6 people in your front line of really good team members, and they become that way through that honest, trusted relationship. So you can go out and recruit other people, but if you're not developing that relationship, how are you going to create your foundation for duplication?
And it's also part of what I was going to talk about today. So thank you, Jim. Yes, thank you. That, dialogue is probably the most important thing we can do. And if we're always true to ourselves and we have the integrity of walking our talk and of being honest with ourselves, and we can be honest with the people around us, that rubs off. People will know that. They'll be able to understand that this is somebody you can rely on. This is somebody you can trust. And this is what it's really all about. It's like in a marriage, if you trust your partner, and then your partner says, I'm going on a cruise by herself or with some girls or some whatever guys, you know that there's a relationship there that's trust. So 80-20 rule, the ideal thing is to spend 80% of our time on the 20% of the people that are the ones that are really going to come through. Because otherwise, we're spending 80% of our time on the 80% of the people that are not going to do anything or not going to do much. So that's why I'm really interested in trying to get everybody to say something about what they think. So, for example, my next question is not necessarily in our business, even not in our business, but think of someone you trust, and how did you come to that conclusion? In other words, how do if we look around in our sphere of influence, is there anybody that you really trust? And how did you get to that feeling of trusting that person? What makes him or her different that you can trust that person? Can you think of anybody like that?
Lawrence, in listening to all the comments that have been said, I agree with every one of them. And to put it in summation, I think it's consistency of character.
Mm-hmm.
And when you boil it down, it makes me think of the golden rule: treat others as you would like to be treated yourself. And when you do that, people can see that and relate to that. And as it resonates between the two people, trust is built. And how do you pick out that 20%? I think that's the people that you resonate the best with, the most with, and you move things forward. Yes, to a point. When I was in residency, our chairman of pediatrics was a pediatric neurologist. And when talking about pseudo seizures, it was adolescence. And he said, you always have to leave the door cracked. You have to leave them a way out with honor. And sometimes they take the door. I know one instance where a young lady didn't. and she frustrated me with opening the door wide open, and she refused to go through it. And I picked her up from the floor and abruptly sat her up on a gurney and told her what I thought. And that finally pushed her through the door. But that was an extreme um, occurrence, an extreme situation where that's what I thought it required. And we have to judge each situation with each person and figure out how to nurture that trust. But like you said, dialogue, it's a two-way street. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. And that's what leadership did. You sat that lady up on the gurney there. That is where you take the bull by the horns and you sat the lady down and you had a very frank dialogue. And I think this is something that is important, where you speak from your heart, where you speak from inside, from your genuine feelings. And I think
Um,
dialogue is part of that.
in that five levels of leadership, it talks about how as you get to these higher levels, you have to take risk. It's not just like you get to the top and it's an easy, it gets harder. And part of that, I think, is a perfect example is what Dr. Jim just said. He had to take a big risk here, with a patient, and that could have gone totally the other way. But he decided the risk was worth it to get to accomplish the goal he thought they both needed. So that was a great example, I think, of what they mentioned in that book.
I think the risk that you take, if it's a risk that is from, it's because there are two things. One is the heart and one is the mind. One is emotional and one is rational. If we take a risk that is rational, and if we add that to an emotion risk, so it's balanced, and it's a genuine leadership call where you need to actually lead by example, but it's leading, having invited your mind to your body, or your heart to your mind rather, where there's a cohesion there. Then you've got a balanced look, and then brutally honest. Then I think that's one of the traits of leadership, when you can be rational and emotional, but genuine. That's what Dr. Purvis did. Am I correct, Dr. Purvis?
You are correct. In that situation, it was all emotional and no rational because, Jim, yes, it could have gone the other way, but the family's frustration and need for understanding um, outweighed their con- outweighed may not be the right word, but their concern for the child had reached a point where they needed something to hold on to. And when they saw how quick that girl snapped out of what she was doing, and to borrow a phrase or use a phrase, I put the fear of God in her, and she was started flying right. But it was not something I calculated in the moment. It was more a reaction than a rationalized choice.
Thank you, Dr. Purvis. So here's something that I also would like to bring up, and that is, in healthcare, trust improves compliance. In business, trust improves execution. So, how much time do we invest in our leaders? Is it enough? How do we know? How soon do you expect results? From yourself, or from ourselves, and from our leaders? So if we're instilling trust as a healthcare professional, that person will trust and will be compliant if the healthcare professional has the trust of whoever he's talking to or she's talking to. That's compliance because they believe you. And in business, it it improves execution. In other words, if we're talking about business, then do it. Execute what we say we're going to do in business. So how do you know, how much time do you spend in that? Or until when do you invest in that time on each one of these?
You invest time until you get some reaction back and you understand what the trajectory is likely to be. You can't build trust or confidence from somebody else in you without investing time. And the challenge is always to make the judgment. And one of the most difficult judgments of all is to determine whether you should continue to invest time in a person or break off from that person. And I think you have to judge that by what reaction and results you see from that person.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to give you a hint on that I'm thinking, and that's it, is if see a reaction. I mean, if you hit somebody on the, I don't know what it's called, the funny bone on the knee, and there's a reaction there, that's a pretty quick reaction. That's a reflex action. So, we could sometimes we say, my gosh, I talked to this guy until he's till he's blue, till I'm blue in the face and nothing happened. So until you get a reaction, until you get feedback, until you can actually feel that you're getting somewhere, that's when I think, you go. But I'm more interested in what you guys think.
Lawrence, that brings up an interesting thing for me because it leads me to the thought of leadership is developing the skills to the level at which they exceed your ego. And so in interrelationships, your ego is always in that game. And the one whose ego is too big and unbending or is not ameliorated by improved skill sets of human interaction, you're going to have less success with your communication with people. But if you allow yourself not just to be run over, but to be a skilled leader where you have developed the abilities to communicate with people on difficult topics, you don't just get a rash jump in there and yell at someone or tell them very abruptly how terrible they're doing, or you come up with effective ways to communicate something to someone in the right environment. And like you guys have said, it's many times in privacy, and you do it in a manner that's constructive and results in them responding in a positive manner. Now you're developing relationship.
Thank you, Jim. So here's on that subject. This is what on that what you just said. Thank you. This business allows us to say things that are preposterous. For instance, I hope you make more money than me. I'd love to help you make more money than me. I'd like to help you be more successful than me. That is when we put the ego outside the door and we genuinely are in a position to help our teams and the people that we are with to reach levels that we may not have reached. And I think this is a business that allows us to do that because the financial structure allows us to be able to let people rise to the merit of their efforts. And our ego is something that doesn't even come into it because if we help them, we help us. We help ourselves. by helping others get what they want, we will get what we want. That's an old saying from, I think, Zig Ziglar. Helping others get what they want, we'll get what we want. So the first thing we do is we leave the ego at the door. And I've always been an advocate of being able to understand that the ego is one of the best things we've got, and it's also one of the worst things we've got. Because if it gets in the way, it it clouds our objectivity. Because the ego can cloud our objectivity. So I think it's a good thing, but it's also something we've got to be able to dominate and control. So duplication, our business is about duplication. It's about duplication on one side, and it's also about subscriptions, which goes back to the healthcare person that is instilling trust in the person that's going to buy a product that's going to be beneficial and ongoing. So there we've got the business side and we've got the health side, both of them.
I think you have to be careful not to constrain somebody who wants to exceed the amount of effort and intellect that you're willing to put in. And you know, when you have somebody who has better, more relevant connections than you do, and the ability to run faster and harder than you do, for whatever reason, stand aside and encourage them. Don't let your ego go in the way such that you start to constrain them and hold them back.
1000% agree.
I
Thank
feel
you.
like as I dive into the realm of building a team and trying to be a leader, I can meet people where they are and I can match their energy. I always show up when I say I'll show up. With Shelby, we have a goal to do 30 health assessments, and we put up our time for free, asking nothing in return on Wednesday afternoons and Friday afternoons to do these 30 health assessments. And if she's willing to go out and find them, I will match her energy and be there to talk to all 30 of those people. And one thing I struggle with in this business is being someone who's so driven myself. It's hard when someone tells me I'll do X, Y, or Z and they don't do X, Y, or Z. It's really hard for me personally to understand it. Because when I told Scott at the beginning, I'm going to talk to 5 patients every day, or for 90 days, I'll talk to every single patient because none of them have heard about this. I did that, you know, and I built that base. And it's just, I see the potential if people will do what they say. And that's one thing I struggle with. You guys might be able to help with, like, I'm matching those who are putting energy in and I'm matching their energy and helping them build. But those who don't, I keep trying and I keep reaching out to them and I keep trying to get them to do what they'll say they'll do. And it sometimes it affects me a little bit because I'm like, how do you not do what you say you'll do?
That's one of the first things I learned in this business is you can't want something for someone else more than they want it for themselves.
Whoa.
And that's difficult because we can look inside people and see their potential and maybe they're not ready to reach that yet. So
Amen.
that's where some inspiration on our part can hopefully help with that. But don't get caught in that quagmire and think that it's something that you failed to do when if they don't want it, you know, is to lead the horse to water. You can't make them drink, but can you make them thirsty, right? That's you know how that would go about. But that's one of the hardest lessons I've learned when I first got started with this, and you just cannot take that personally.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
Jeremy, I just want to ditto what you're saying. That statement you made is what's helped me stay in this business 5 years. And I've shared that with my affiliates is when you meet people where they are, it minimizes your personal frustration. You've probably already experienced that, but that always helps me. And you know what they want to do, that's where we'll go. So yeah, spot on with that.
yeah, I mean, I made a mistake early on. I signed up Dr. Butler and I told him, like, I'll help you get to your first 100 subscribers. And in 6 weeks, I put on 40 subscribers for him. And 70% of them were Life Pack Nano. I mean, this an amazing start. That and he put on 0 subscribers the whole time, and it was a huge mistake. I reached out to him and I just said, "Hey, how you feeling? What's going on?" And he said, "I just can't do it. I can't talk to people about this. I can't get into it." And luckily, he was so reasonable. I said, "Why don't you just sell your business to my dad? He's actually working it, and I've helped you build it." And he did for $1, sold all those subscribers over to my dad. So I was lucky, but it was a big mistake. It's like I ran so hard for him, and he never could catch the vision. So if he would have just matched my energy, he would have made $40,000 that year. So it was just a mistake. And now I'm learning I need to teach people how to build it and then match their energy. So I just wanted to share some of my errors along the way.
Jeremy, if I could say, luck is where opportunity meets preparation. So you're lucky you were prepared and the opportunity came. And that's where people become lucky. You know. So how are we doing for time here? Well, we're just on time. I'm happy here. I mean, if anybody's got anything else,
Hey, one more, Lawrence.
yes,
And
sir.
I read an article once, I think it was in a healthcare journal or something, and it talked about how many people have a competitive nature, but you have to work toward, and some have a cooperative nature, so they almost become namby-pamby. So they created a new term called cooperation. So you can have a competitive mindset or that leading mindset, but if they don't follow, there has to be a cooperative thing where it's a dual thing. So I that was really resounding because especially in corporations or in a healthcare setting, where you're supposed to refer to people or whatever and you try to keep it close to your vest, that's not really the healthiest thing for the patient either. So it was kind of a unique blend of, how you try to meet in the middle.
Thank you, Dan. By the way, remember that we are trying to create an orchestra with every different type of specialty imaginable. And not everybody's an entrepreneur. That's the difference between being in a corporate world where you are the boss and you just tell the people what the hell you want them to do now, tonight, now by 4 o'clock, I want this. And the other one is to say, I'd really like you to do this by 4 o'clock. And the person will either follow you if you've got that leadership trait that we're talking about, which is all of these things we're talking about, because you cannot push a rope. Let it go. Don't waste time on it. That's the 80-20 thing. You got to decide at a certain time, how much time am I going to try push this rope? And as you've just said rightly, Michael, I think, and Lisa, and somebody on, you can't want something more for somebody than what they want for themselves. Some people are mediocre, and just let them go. Don't worry about it.
Jim Rohn had a very good way of expressing that. He said, "Don't bring me your need, bring me your seed."
Good one. Good one. Good one. And also, don't bring me your need, bring me your solution. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Thank you very much for being on the call. I appreciate it. Anybody else got anything you want to add? Anybody else? Okay.
Thanks for having us.
No, thank you. Thanks for your input, guys. I hope this was useful. It was for me. So I appreciate it.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Appreciate all your hard work and everyone's involvement.
Tomorrow, thank you, Niles. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we've got a live LinkedIn call, and Lisa Malone will be there as a registered dietitian to be able to educate us all about nutrition. Michael Cook will be on there as well to educate about business, and we've got the preparation for 11 o'clock tomorrow. If anybody wants to join that, it's on my LinkedIn channel. on my name. So blessing to everybody. Welcome to join tomorrow if you wish. And thanks for being on the call. Thanks for your input. Blessings to everybody. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
great
Mark.
weekend. And get on the 11 o'clock today, by the way. Newskin's got a call at 11. Oh, I must put it in the chat. 1 second. And
Did you put in the link for tomorrow as well?
that's all. I don't. Okay, I can try that. But the call for now is at 11 o'clock, which is where are we here? Sorry, Friday. It's this is the link for the 11 o'clock call. If you can get on it, it's a leadership call by the leaders of Newskin, and it's a really good one too. So chat, sorry. Where the heck is the chat now? Everyone.
Oh, Lawrence, is yours tomorrow? You just go to LinkedIn and look up your name. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, God, I
That's
think so. God, I think so. Michael?
yes, you can. Yeah, they can do that. Go to your LinkedIn account and get the link for it. I'm sure you've got it posted there.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just put the link in for the 11 o'clock call.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. New chat. Here we go. I'm going to put no, not new skin. Where's this thing? How can, oh, here we go. This is the call for 11 o'clock. It's on the chat now.
Yeah. So Martin posted, Lawrence posted. Yes. And for Lawrence's call, just go to his LinkedIn account and you'll find the link for tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Excellent.
See if I
Thank
can,
you.
let me see if I can find it. I don't have it. Okay.
That's 11 a.m. What time zone?
Eastern.
Eastern.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can put it in here in LinkedIn. And it comes in here. I'll post it in here in a minute. Post an activity. And here it is, this one here. It's this. 1 second, and it's going to be posting now. And it looks like this. If you
Yeah.
can't get on this, just on my LinkedIn account. So I'll post this too. Okay.
You could all take a look at Lawrence's account on LinkedIn as well and see some of the things he's doing there. And you might want to take a hard look at that and see if it's something that you would want to integrate as well, because I highly recommend it.
I'm sorry, Mike. What did you just say? I'm sorry.
When you go to Lawrence's account on LinkedIn, look at his posts and things like that, and what he's doing there is just rock star material. So it's really good stuff for everybody to take a look at and see how they can integrate it into what they're doing on LinkedIn and other social media and things like that.
And
Okay, thanks.
same goes for Michael and Lisa, and you know, it's worthwhile. Thank you, Michael. Look at Michael's and Lisa's as well. Blessings, everybody. Thank you for being on the call. Look forward to seeing you on the call at 11. And have a great weekend. Blessings.
Thanks,
Hopefully see
Lawrence.
you tomorrow.
Thank you,
Cheers.
Lawrence. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thanks, Lawrence.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless.